Hello everyone and welcome back to Trans Am for the start of the long-awaited Season 5. It has been a while since we've done this Trans Am, but yeah, we're back and ready for the first round of the championship. We've got 6 rounds lined up for this season, starting off at Eiger Nordwand. We'll be heading to the Red Bull Ring, Suzuka, and then to Dragon Trail Gardens, the sprint layout of the Nürburgring, and finally to Spa. So a very good calendar. Really looking forward to a lot of the rounds this season. So yeah, without further ado, let us get into the first one at the Eiger Nordwand circuit in Switzerland. An original Gran Turismo circuit, but a very fun one nonetheless. On paper, it's not really a circuit that should suit me. I've never been good at the sort of tight and twisty short circuits, but after a while I did actually get into a pretty decent rhythm around here and really started enjoying the laps of this circuit. So let's go through a lap. Turn 1 is a right-handed hairpin, and this is a very slow sequence of corners in the Trans Am cars. 4 hairpins to start off the lap as we wind our way down the mountain, all about just trying to use all the available millimeters, compromise the exit there a little bit to get a better line through the final hairpin, and a little flick to the right as we head out onto the bridge. Then it's a slight left-hander as we head into this car park corner, as I'm going to refer to it as there is a car park on the right hand side there. Late apex there, there's about 1 trillion different lines you can take through that corner, and then try and hold the power down as we head up the hill. Slight left-hander, then flick it to the right as we head into one of the most difficult corners of the circuit. But when you get it right, there's actually a surprising amount of time to be gained there. Late on the brakes here because there's a lot of room on the outside to be able to use. They definitely could have even gone deeper there. But out to the exit and across the line, that's a 1 minute 7.1, and that is the best lap I could manage in time trial. And don't bin it as you head over the crest, which if the car is not set up correctly is very easy to do, so careful with that one. But anyway, we've got an Olympus theme, Mount Olympus, Greek gods theme for the liveries this season, and this one is Zeus and Hera, so we've gone with number 12 for the 12 Olympian gods, and I've got all sorts of references and symbols of the gods on the car. So yeah, that is the theme, I suppose, for round 1. But anyway, let us get out of pit lane and start qualifying proper. So here we go then, and we'll see what kind of lap time we can put in as we head into turn 1. A little bit of an awkward line through there, trying to open up this second one, a bit deep though, so a little bit of a messy start to the lap, and yeah, just not great through those 2 hairpins, but this is the best lap I could manage in qualifying. You can see I've already done a few. This is the 3rd lap essentially, and the thing is as well, with the way pit exit is here, or the way pit lane is, it's not at the start line. It's about 2/3 of the way around the lap. The pit entry is right there on the left hand side. We go into a tunnel, and pit lane is literally in the side of the mountain, and then pit exit is on the left right there. So yeah, very odd pit lane, but that will play a factor, you know, throughout qualifying, because it means when you come out of pit lane, all you really have to do is navigate the final couple of corners and you're straight into starting another flying lap, which is very helpful for you know, if you're running out of time, you do need to get that next lap in. But anyway, as we get that lap in, it is a 7, which very much surprised me. I wasn't expecting that, but yeah, it's still not quite enough. We're down in P8, and yeah, more than a second away from Uncle Pete. So yeah, the pace isn't quite there. I worked quite hard tuning this car to get it as drivable and as comfortable as possible in terms of the ultimate lap speed. Yeah, we're just not quite there, but still very happy with where this car's at, because I can drive it consistently, and I think that's by far the most important thing. But look at that, Jester taking pole position in the Chevelle, a relatively new car to Trans Am, and not one that has seen too much success. I think it's only been driven twice before. Tita did take a pole position and a podium with it at Le Mans, but that's about the best it's seen. So yeah, very interesting times. The Chevelle is looking good now. So this is of course the first season since Gran Turismo's physics update a while ago. So yeah, things could be a little bit different from now on. But without further ado, let us get into the race itself, and we'll start by running through the starting grid. On pole position, it is going to be Jester in the Chevelle, starting on the soft compound tyres. P2 for Ash on the hards in the Corvette. Starting out of P3, we've got Grenster, and I've got this noted as a personal best result in the Boss in quali for Gren, starting on the hard compound tyres. P4 for Banananotto, also on the softs in the Challenger. P5 for Sparrow in the Camaro on the hards, and everyone else from here back is on the harder compound tyres. Artsy in another Challenger, starting out of P6. Pete in the second of the Mustang Bosses, starting out of P7. P8 for myself in the third and final Dodge Challenger. This is a very dodgy race because on the back row we've got J-Dog in the Dodge Charger, a very American livery on that car, and another Charger, Ferbs, starting out of P10, as always not setting a qualifying time. But yeah, with starting grid out the way, let us get into the race itself. Oh, we've already messed it up. We've forgotten to hold the brake. We're underway, but we've got a penalty to serve off the line already as a slow getaway. Ferbs goes through, and I think J-Dog did exactly the same thing. Because the starting grid's on a slope, you have to hold the brake earlier than usual to make sure the car doesn't roll out of the grid box. And yeah, we fell victim to that. So that was very unfortunate, but we dropped to the back. I think there was a bit of after you going on between myself and J-Dog into turn one. But yeah, that's not an ideal start to the race, but we're on the hard tyres to start this one off, as is almost everyone else. So there's going to be a lot of lap one stoppers, and the race really will start at pit exit after everyone just tries to survive this opening 2/3 of a lap. So into pit lane we go, a little graze with the barrier, but nothing too serious, and we're going to go straight onto the soft compound tyres. I didn't really know how long each stint was going to be, so yeah, we're just going to save the mediums to the end and try and shorten that up as much as possible. But it was a good start from Jester from pole position, and was able to just blaze off into the distance with the drivers second and third starting on the hard compound tyres. It was never going to be too difficult of a start, and it looks like Banananotto has moved up into second position off the start. So those soft tyres are proving critical. Here's the onboard with Bananotto, and yeah, the traction difference is plain to see there, and easily up into second position off the start for Bananotto. So there you go. The soft tyres are critical to getting a good start. The hards just do not have the traction required. Here's the onboard looking rearward from Sparrow, and Artsy got off to a great start in the Challenger. Sparrow, though, not willing to give this one up too easily, goes full send around the outside into turn one. Manages to keep it all under control, and slots back in between Gren and Artsy where he started. So an interesting but very good defensive move there to go sailing around the outside and hold off Artsy that way. So finding the space and using it well. Here's the onboard with Ferbs off the start, and you can see myself and J-Dog both slow off the line. So yeah, our starts look very, very similar, so I suspect we did the same thing. The car just rolling from the gravity before we even started revving up the engine. So yeah, that was a bit unfortunate, but anyway, we'll race on and see what we can do as Ferbs. We'll start to try and chase down the pack ahead, but meanwhile we'll check out who came in and who did not, and it looks like basically everyone who started on hards came into the pits with the exception of Uncle Pete. So yeah, understandably most of us not wanting to spend any extra time on those tyres. Anyway, Ash moves on to the medium compound tyres, and then Gren will move on to the soft compound tyres. Some drivers choosing to take fuel, some not. Obviously not much fuel being used so far, so it's just a really matter of choice whether you want to top up that little bit or not. Sparrow moves on to the medium compound tyres. Artsy will move on to the softs. I think Sparrow took some fuel on board because Artsy jumped Sparrow in the pit lane. Verbs moves on to the medium compound tyres. J-Dog I think moves on to the soft compound tyres, so there is really a bit of a mix. Who wants to get the mediums out the way early, who wants to save them for a little bit later in the race. And we'll come in, we'll put the soft compound tyres on and just extend this next stint as long as we can and do a bit of a test to see how far the soft tyres will go. But Ash is first out of pits ahead of Gren, who's out into the wall there, and that could potentially be damage for Gren. Heavy damage on, of course, so if you get damage, the only way to fix it is to cycle it through the pit lane. But as you can see there, Artsy did jump Sparrow in the pits. There's the replay on board with Gren, and that did a little bit of damage to the front and front left corner of that car, so that won't be tracking in a straight line. So Gren might be struggling for a little bit. Oh, Uncle Pete! Big moment there, and somehow Uncle Pete gets away with not damaging the car in that moment. That was crazy. Just taking it through the right-hander, and this is the risk of running the hard tyres, is they don't have a lot of grip to offer, and you can easily find yourself in moments like that. But Uncle Pete, the drifting king, that's absolutely no issue as Pete drifts through the next corner as well. But as we continue on board with myself, you can see we've got Ferbs in front of us, J-Dog ahead of Ferbs now, as we head through the final corner. And with Ferbs on the mediums, we do seem to have marginally better pace at the moment, so we might be looking for a way through soon, but for the moment we're not really being held up. We're just kind of following along, so yeah, we'll, if there's an opportunity we'll go for it, but other than that I'm happy where we are. Meanwhile, up the road, Ash is under pressure from Gren on the softer tyres at the moment. Gren up the inside, and there's contact, and Ash is into the wall. Artsy's into Ash, Sparrow's into Artsy, and Ash has spun across the bridge, and that is going to be damage to all of those cars. Sparrow and Artsy keep going, but Ash has lost a bunch of time, drops to the back of the field, and significant damage to the Corvette, so much so that Ash brings it straight into the pit lane. Ash on those medium tyres, so might not be the end of the world. Ash can now do the rest of the race on softs, but yeah, this is certainly an unscheduled stop, and yeah, won't do the strategy too much good. But yeah, really unfortunate. Just we'll see a replay on board with Gren and Ash to see exactly what it looks like. But yeah, Ash just, they were side by side, a bit of contact was made, and yeah, for Ash there was just no saving it. You know, from the moment the contact was made, you know, he was just a passenger. And then just unfortunate for Artsy and Sparrow, they just happened to be next in line. Here's the onboard with Grant, trying to make the move around the outside, dives it up the inside of the left hairpin there. And yeah, just gives Ash a little bit of a pit maneuver. So yeah, unfortunate little incident there. And yeah, here's the onboard with Artsy. And that was actually pretty significant contact at both ends of the car. So that's damaged both of the bumpers on the Artsy mobile. And on board with Sparrow, this is going to do some front end damage to Sparrow's car as well. So yeah, 3 cars ending up with damage there in that incident. So not ideal, but these things happen. Ash continues on out of the pits, and we'll try and catch up. Oh, he's put it straight back into the wall. Oh my goodness. What a shame. Ash is struggling to navigate the twists and turns of this circuit today, and here's your board with Uncle Pete just blazing on through the smoke there as Ash tries to recover. But yeah, it's a tough start to the race for the Season 2 champion. Meanwhile, we've got Sparrow putting the pressure on Artsy. Remember, Artsy jumped Sparrow in the pits, so Sparrow's going to be pretty keen to get back through, but right now can't seem to find a way past, as J-Dog is not too far behind, and then it's Ferbs and myself, so all 5 of us relatively close on track at the moment, as Ash is back into the pits to repair the damage from that latest spin. And yeah, the tough day continues. Meanwhile, this battle between J-Dog, Ferbs and myself continues to tighten up as the race goes on, and we're just inching closer to J-Dog at the moment, and yeah, I'm hoping that maybe J-Dog can hold up Ferbs a little bit. That might help me catch up, because I've been at this sort of distance for a while and it just can't close in those last few meters to actually you know, put any kind of pressure on. But meanwhile, further up the road on board with Sparrow, what's happening here? Very understeery there into the wall, and just a slight graze, no big deal. There's going to be plenty of those throughout this race, as we see Gren, leader of the stoppers so far, putting the pressure on Uncle Pete, who's still running on those hard compound tyres he started the race on, which is impressive, but you can clearly see the pace difference between these two cars. Gren goes for the move down the inside, and Uncle Pete gives him some room. Gren gets through and moves up into 3rd place. So yeah, those hard tyres for Uncle Pete maybe not paying off at this stage. We'll see later on, as we understeer very wide, using every bit of that little bit of extra runoff there to make sure we don't hit the exit wall, and we get away with it. But there's very little margin for error, and that's one of the places you can get away with going a car width wide. But anyway, we've lost a bit of ground to Ferbs in recent times, as we check back in on Jester, race leader, finding the wall at the final corner. So that's a little bit of front left damage and front bumper damage for Jester, and it was a very slight graze, really. It didn't look too significant, but yeah, that was enough to damage the front corner for Jester, as we continue to watch on with Uncle Pete, now feeling the pressure from Artsy and Sparrow, both trying to make their way through. And looks like Sparrow is going to try this one around the outside, and does get through. Uncle Pete drops behind the pair of them, and down into P6 for Uncle Pete, as we continue to watch on with this battle. On board now with Sparrow into the wall in the final corner, in a pretty similar place to Jester, and what Gren did earlier as well. So it's a common problem area, that one, and that's damage, or more damage for Sparrow as well, as we continue to chase down Ferbs. We've got Ash putting the pressure on us at the moment, and Ash trying to make the move around the outside into the final corner, where he gets squeezed into the apex. Ash goes for a drift as we continue to go side by side, and we'll hold off Ash for now, but that got very awkward there, and we'll continue this one on to the first corner. And Ash has got way better pace. He's actually a lap down to me at the moment, and I tried to let him through on the inside. Ash ended up going deep there as well, so that whole exchange was very messy, but somehow we both got away with no damage through all of that, and we continue to race on. So yeah, a bit of a weird one, but we'll carry on. It cost us a little bit of time to Ferbs and those ahead, but no big deal. We will carry on, and you can see how far up the road Ash has escaped already. So yeah, there's no question Ash has some very good pace still in this race, and has a lot of time to make up. So Ash is on the move, and of course, you know, wanted to get that move done as soon as possible. But anyway, we continue to race on, and hold on, Ash has had a moment here, and he's stuck it into the wall again. Oh my goodness, the day just goes from bad to worse for Ash, and he actually retires from the race there, so that's a shame. And Ash will score P10 in this one with the DNF. Here it is, a replay of how this whole sequence of events started. and we were a little bit wide there, but Ash was able to get a nice switch back, slight touch in that moment, and then we ran side by side, and yeah, it was just Ash, I think, just gave us a bit too much of a squeeze on the inside. You know, I wasn't going to fight that too hard, but you know, I was still there on the apex, and I, you know, had no space left. And then here, I think Ash must have just misjudged the braking point a bit, followed me in deep into the corner, and then we both found ourselves out in the dust. But anyway, there was no damage for all of that, so that was all fine. Here's the onboard with Ash again, making the move. And yeah, you can see how wide I went there. So I'm struggling for grip at this point with these soft tyres wearing out a little bit. And I don't know, maybe Ash thought he was clear of me at that point, I'm not sure. But yeah, we're still definitely there on the inside. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I could have backed out a bit earlier. But anyway, what's done's done. And then here, tried to let Ash through, and yeah, you can see he was in very deep as well. So that just made things slightly more awkward, but we all survived, and Ash carries on. So yeah, this is the other moment though. Just got wide in the dust and went for another spin. Thankfully he was ghosted, otherwise we would have had a very big impact there, along with Jester, who went through as well. Here's the onboard with Ash to see that again, and yeah, a snap at the wrong moment and a full spin. Actually didn't hit the wall that hard and didn't actually have any damage from that spin, so he could have actually carried on. But yeah, the frustration must have been building at that point. Meanwhile, we're getting blue flagged for Jester, who's still yet to stop in this race, so we let Jester go through and we carry on. So yeah, hopefully didn't lose too much time in that one. And funnily enough, immediately after that, Jester pulls into the pits, which is always fun. So anyway, yeah, Jester makes the pit stop and moves on to onto the hard compound tyres, as we see another battle playing out on track. We've still got Uncle Pete out there on the hard compound tyres. Now it's J-Dog putting the pressure on, and Uncle Pete lets that one go. J-Dog jumps past Uncle Pete and moves up another position as Uncle Pete continues to race on those hard compound tyres. Unbelievably, still trusting in the strategy to make those tyres work. But next up is Ferbs, also making that move on Uncle Pete, as we go a little bit wide into the wall there. And that was an awkward moment, but it's unfortunately caused a bit of damage to our car as well, so it was only a matter of time. There's mistakes going on left, right and centre throughout this race, and yeah, just got in way too deep into turn one, and yeah, bounced off that wall. Tried to hit it as parallel as I could, but yeah, still did some damage to that front left corner, the front bumper and front left suspension. So now our car won't be steering straight for the rest of the stint until we can get that fixed. But Jester heads into the pits after a one-lap stint on the hard compound tyres, and we'll move on to the softs. Also in pit lane, we have Gren moving on to another set of the soft compound tyres, and there's a flurry of action in the pit lane with Sparrow into the pit lane as well. Sparrow also moving on to the soft compound tyres. J-Dog, just coming off a soft tyre stint, will be moving on to the medium compound tyres for this stint. And finally, we've got Uncle Pete finally getting rid of those hard compound tyres and moving on to the softs. So, out of pit lane first, we've got Jester still in probably the best position in this race. Hard to keep track of at the moment with the different strategies playing out. Gran next, then it's Uncle Pete, who has made some gain through the pit stop cycle there, especially after not having stopped yet, so might have had, you would expect, would have had more fuel to put in, but obviously Pete's been saving the fuel as well. Then it's J-Dog and Sparrow losing out through the pit stop cycle. Meanwhile, we are under pressure from Jester, and this is actually a fight for position. Jester, having just made those couple of stops, come out behind us and is really putting the pressure on, but we're going to straight away just dive out of the way and head into the pits. We do have that damage now, so we're going to get that fixed and make sure that we're in good shape for the rest of the race. So yeah, we're going to dive in. We'll put some more soft tyres on and just carry those as close as we can to the end of the race, and then we'll do the final shorter stint, hopefully, on the medium compound tyres. Continuing on then with Sparrow pushing on in this race, getting nice and cozy with the outside wall there once more, and oh, that's a little bit too much for Sparrow there, and that is going to be some significant damage to the front of that car. Let's see the onboard. As you can see, very much struggling for traction there. The initial moment wasn't too bad, but then ping-ponging between the walls, pinballing would be the better phrase there, but anyway, yeah, Sparrow getting some damage on both sides of the front suspension, front bumper as well. So yeah, it's front of Sparrow's car not in good shape, and oh my goodness, that is a huge moment into turn one, but for the most part gets away with it and just carries on. But that was a monumental slide for Sparrow there, so it's an adventurous car to drive, it seems. Sparrow's Camaro, nice drift though to catch that, and Sparrow carries on. So yeah, as we continue to watch on, we've got Bananotto finally coming in for the first time in this race, moving on to the hard compound tyres to get those out of the way. And we've also got Artsy in the pit lane, and Artsy will be moving on to a set of the soft compound tyres. Meanwhile, we've almost finished our refill, and we'll get that bit of damage fixed that we had, and we'll carry on once more in this race. So yeah, we are currently down in last position, but it's very hard to tell where anyone truly is in this race in real positions, because everyone's on wildly different strategies at this point. I mean, we saw Jester leading the race by miles earlier, with Ferbs down towards the back, and now Jester's on the back of Ferbs fighting for second position. Jester's going to get through and move up into P2. Ferbs are down into P3, but you know, that might not really be too important at the end of the day. We'll see where it all shakes out, but yeah, strategy is very hard to keep track of, and it's hard to know where anyone truly is. Bananotto into the pits once more, and that's going to be a change to the medium compound tyres for Bananotto, as we now ourselves catch up to Ferbs, who dives off into pit lane, and we won't have to deal with making an overtake on Ferbs, who's on older tyres of course at the moment, as we make our way past. So Ferbs into the pits, and we'll be moving on to the soft compound tyres for the next stint, and we'll be very, very pacey for the next portion of the race on those tyres. Meanwhile, back out on track, we've got Sparrow chasing down J-Dog. Sparrow gets through down the inside, J-Dog leaves the high and wide, and makes that nice and easy. That's a change for P7 and 8, as Sparrow has a massive moment towards turn 1, and he manages to catch it. Goodness me. Sparrow has had some adventures in that zone of the circuit, but yeah, has managed to avoid incidents so far. Here we go again on board this time, and yeah, that was about as close as you would get to having an incident there. My goodness, that was out of control, but Sparrow keeps it all pointing in the right direction in the end, as we see J-Dog getting lapped by Jester. So just 6 cars left on the lead lap at the moment, as we continue to race on. Ferbs in 8th position, myself in 9th, as we're about to get lapped by Gren, who runs in 2nd position at the moment, as we give him the little beep on the way past. Yeah, we are now a lap down to the top 2. Meanwhile, a bit further round, we've got J-Dog under pressure from Ferbs. J-Dog is not going to bother fighting that one. Ferbs goes through and moves up into P7. Let's check through the rest of the running order as well at the moment. We might as well. Uncle Pete is running third at the moment, so yeah, that strategy working so far for Uncle Pete. Banana Notto fourth, ahead of Artsy in P5, so the two challengers not separated by too much on track at the moment, or the other two challengers I should say. And then Sparrow runs in P6. Not getting too crazy over the jump this time. Sparrow, the last of those remaining on the lead lap. They won't last for too long though, because Sparrow soon gets that dreaded blue flag and gives up the lead lap to Jester, and also allows Ferbs through in the process. So yeah, Sparrow drops down into P7, Ferbs up to P6. Meanwhile, further up the road, we've got Gren continuing the push further into the race and further into the grass, into the wall there for Gren. So that's an unfortunate mistake there. We're right on board to see exactly what happened. Maybe a touch wide through the previous corner, but I think it was just a bit of understeer through the left-hander and just carried the car out into the wall. That's going to be damage to the right front corner of the Grenstermobile as Artsy makes the move on Banana Notto and gets through nice and clean along the straight there. Meanwhile, we continue to carry on, and we've caught up to J-Dog in the process, so we might be able to elevate ourselves out of last place in this race. We'll see, but I think we've got a better pace at the moment than J-Dog. We're on the soft tyres, so we're feeling pretty quick at the moment and starting to put the pressure on. But like you know what happened when I got up behind Ferbs, having trouble just closing in that last little bit of the margin. We're keeping it really tight on the inside line here, and that might have gained us some time in the mid corner, but J-Dog with the better exit up the hill, so it's yeah, it's very tricky to close in the margin here, it seems, at least for me, when I get in behind someone. But anyway, J-Dog, a bit of a moment there, and that might give us the opportunity. We've got the run now, and we're going to have a look to the inside. J-Dog sees us coming, gives us the room, and we'll make our way through down the inside. Probably slowed it down a bit too much, and no big deal though. J-Dog gives us the beep on the way through, and we're ahead of J-Dog up into P8 as we see Uncle Pete showcasing his drifting skills once more in this race past the pit exit. Meanwhile, into pit lane we've got Jester coming in once more, and I think this will be a stop for the medium compound tyres, and we'll emerge from pit lane once more, and that's very close on the pit exit with Bananotto, but manages to come out in front. So yeah, again, like I said, it's a bit of an awkward pit exit. Here we go on board with Bananotto, and just about keeps it out of Jester's door, but yeah, it can get very awkward quite quickly there if you're a little bit wide of the ideal line and you've got someone coming out of the pit lane. But Gren cycles through the pit lane as well, and that was a stop for the medium compound tyres. Uncle Pete also comes into the pits, and Pete also moving on to those mediums, presumably for the rest of the race. Sparrow comes into the pits. Sparrow will be moving on to a set of the soft compound tyres. Right, we continue to carry on. Jester going to do a pretty short stint on those medium compound tyres, and with around 23 minutes to go is going to come in for the softs. I can't speak for anyone else, but based on my tyre wear, that's a bit early to be going to the end of the race on those tyres, but we'll see. I think that is the plan for Jester. We've also got Ferbs in the pit lane going on to another set of medium tyres for Ferbs, so I guess Ferbs preferring that compound, as we see Uncle Pete getting the move done on J-Dog. Nice and easy there, up into 7th position for Uncle Pete. Anyway, back on board with myself as we head towards a pit exit. Jester's coming out of pit lane, and we find ourselves in a bit of a similar situation to Bananotto just a moment ago, but just like Bananotto, will remain behind Jester as we head into the final corner. Jester has a bit of a moment on the way in, but no harm done. Manages to keep things out of the barriers and manages to push on. But yeah, as we now see Bananotto come into the pit lane, it is going to be the soft tyres going on for Bananotto, and presumably those will go to the end of the race at a bit more of a reasonable time for a last pit stop. It's been another 3 laps or so since Jester's final stop, as Artsy is also into the lane for a set of the medium compound tyres to the end for Artsy. And now we've got Bananotto making the move on Uncle Pete. Nice and easy there. So yeah, the strategies are starting to play out, and everyone's starting to find their relative positions on track, as we see J-Dog head into the pit lane, and J-Dog out of fuel there on the way in, so pushing it a lap too far, unfortunately, there for J-Dog. But a new set of tyres go on, and that will be the soft compound tyres to the end of the race for J-Dog. Meanwhile, we've got Jester putting the pressure on Gren, and this is for the race lead. And I think Gren's on the mediums at the moment, so this is going to be a fairly decent pace differential for these two, with Jester on the soft compound tyres, new soft compound tyres, and chasing down that Mustang. Gren throws the block towards turn 1. Jester's going to try and send it in around the outside and won't find a way through there. Tries to switch back, and this is going to get very racy if they're going to try and fight it out through here. Jester's trying to get up the inside, but no space there. No way to get up the inside into the 3rd hairpin. Around the outside of the 4th hairpin, and no way through there. And Gren is doing a great job to cover this one off. Meanwhile, on board with myself as we head into turn 1, Bananotto gets up the inside and gets that move done, and moves up into 4th position. So we're not really, again, in our correct track position, because we still have a stop to make, and a lot of the others have made their final stops at this point, as Jester tries to get the run around the outside of Gren, and might get this done here to the inside of the left-hander. Gren's out wide in the grass again there, but manages to get away with no damage that time. But Jester's through into the race lead, and what a move that was around the outside to make that stick. And Jester moves up into 1st and is in prime position to take his 2nd Trans Am victory. So that could be quite huge. But meanwhile, we head into pit lane for our final stop. Our tyres have well and truly seen better days. The front left is dead. We could barely turn it into pit lane. And yeah, it's definitely time for our final stop. I think we may have pushed this stint a bit too far, but I wanted to make use of the soft tyres as much as possible, and minimise the medium tyre stint, because ultimately at the end of the day they are a slower compound. So I wanted to use the softs for all they were worth before getting rid of them. And yeah, we get that bit of damage we had fixed, and we're out of pit lane once more. It looks like we're gonna stay ahead of J-Dog, so assuming he doesn't come charging for us at the end of the race, we might have at least P8 locked in. I'm not optimistic about getting too much more, being on the medium tyres at the moment. Sparrow, a little bit of a moment coming onto the bridge, but nothing too massive there, as we continue to watch on with Sparrow getting through on Ferbs, who leaves it high and wide. Doesn't make things too difficult for Sparrow, who moves up into P6 at the moment. Ferbs down into P7 as the fight is on up the road between Artsy and Bananotto once again. This time Bananotto making the move on Artsy and getting through as we keep it out of the way for those two. All the challengers finding each other on track at the same time there. Unfortunately, we're a lap down to those two. But anyway, Sparrow brings it into the pit lane, and I think this is going to be for a fastest lap attempt for Sparrow. Another set of soft tyres going on, and taking on a load of fuel And in fact, as we're going to show this, skipping through the pit stop 4 separate times, eventually Sparrow comes back out with a full tank of fuel with just 10 minutes to go in this race. There is no way you're going to burn that much fuel by the end. So Sparrow comes out of pits, allows J-Dog to go through, and rejoins the race in last position, but with a full tank of fuel he'll be able to go flat out, fresh soft tyres, fuel map 1 all the way to the end, I think, for Sparrow. So we'll see how that pans out, but that was a lot of fuel, and Sparrow drifting through the car park corner there. J-Dog was having a bit of a moment as well. So yeah, it's going to be a big push to the end, and it'll be interesting to see how much pace Sparrow has to show. But J-Dog doesn't put up too much of a fight. Sparrow through on the inside of turn 1 and up into 8th position, and we'll soon be chasing after myself in P7. Meanwhile, Artie's had a moment and finds the barrier, and that's going to be some damage to the front end of Artie's car. We'll see how that happened, and it's just going to be a little bit wide, tagging the outside wall, maybe a bit of the grass on the outside, and just turns it to the inside. And yeah, just a slight graze, but that's going to be a bit of damage to the front of that car. As, what's this? Jester in the race lead is coming into the pit lane, so those soft tyres couldn't make it to the end for Jester. It was an optimistically long final stint, and it's an emergency pit stop to make it to the end. He could have maybe tried to limp it home on dead tyres, but let's see how things pan out with a set of fresh and soft compound tyres on for Jester. Where will Jester re-emerge? How much time will Jester lose? Remember, he was pulling away pretty quickly from 2nd position, so Jester comes out in 3rd and is more than 13 seconds away from the race lead. So this is going to have to be a charging drive if Jester wants a chance to get that race lead back. Meanwhile, Ferbs gets through on J-Dog, and they both have a few moments there, but they carry on, and that was Ferbs, I think, putting J-Dog a lap down in that instance, as we see Sparrow diving down the inside of Uncle Pete into the car park corner, and Sparrow does get through, but that got a little bit awkward to the apex there for Sparrow, just sending it in there. But Sparrow gets through and makes that move. That's to unlap himself from Uncle Pete, so not for position, as we see Gren being chased down by Bananato, and Jester not too far behind. He's carved into that margin pretty rapidly, actually, on those fresh soft compound tyres. So Jester's still in this, absolutely, and is gaining on both of these cars in front. So this could be a pretty exciting finish to the race. Meanwhile, Sparrow blazes on through, and I was actually resetting my recording at that moment, so I didn't even get my on board of that. But anyway, Sparrow goes through on myself, moves up into P7. We're down into P8. Not much we could do to defend from that sort of straight line speed anyway for Sparrow. But further up the road, we've got Bananato chasing down Gren, and this is the fight for the race lead. It is on now for the rest of the race, and there is no question about it. They are in the exact reverse order of the lap speed they can carry at the moment. Grenster struggling on the oldest tyres and medium tyres on that car as well. Bananato on some older soft tyres, but still with better pace than Gren. And then Jester on brand new softs, absolutely hauling in the margin to these two. And now it is absolutely a three-way fight to the end between Jester, Bananato, and Gren. Who's going to take this one? Bananato, a huge moment over the jump, trying to get to the outside of Gren towards turn 1, and managed to keep it under control. But can he make the move around the outside? Jester trying the outside of turn 2, but no way through for Jester, but gets through on Bananato for now as they continue to run side by side. Jester gets squeezed onto the apex by Bananato, and this is all allowing Gren a little bit of breathing space, not much, and even running side by side, they're not really losing time to Gren, but it's delaying the inevitable, I think, as we go back on board with myself and we're starting to struggle on these medium tyres, understeering into the wall there, and yeah, a bit distracted by getting that blue flag. We're going to let Uncle Pete go through nice and easy. I knew this battle was going on and I wasn't sure who was catching up, so I wanted to make sure I was well out of the way just in case it was these three, because it is absolutely on between Bananotto, Jester and Grenster as the fight for the lead continues side by side between Bananotto and Jester as they continue to race up towards the final corner. Jester trying to get this one done around the outside and will do so. Bananotto backs out and Jester now has a clear shot at Gren for the first time really since that final pit stop. So let's see how this goes. Jester to the outside as they head towards turn 1. Grenster always throwing the block, always on the defense on those medium tyres that will have seen better days at this point, as Jester makes a move all the way around the outside and gets it done. Jester up into the race lead once more, and that is a fantastic comeback drive. This will be the final lap of the race as well. The 1 hour is almost up and Jester's taken the race lead at the most critical of moments. What a drive from Jester to come back after that unscheduled stop towards the end. Awesome stuff. But the fight is still on further back. Here's the onboard with Bananotto through the final corner at the end of the previous lap. That's where the track limits penalty came from, of all places. But anyway, we continue on. Bananotto is out of fuel, and that is very early. Still maybe a third of a lap to go. So Bananotto's going to have to limp that one home, but Jester is absolutely flying out in front, and that's going to be a race victory for Jester. Grenster crosses the line to take second, and the fight for third is going to end with Artsy getting through out of nowhere to take third position away from Bananotto. What a shame to miss out on the podium at the end. Artsy's out of fuel as well. Sparrow comes through, but that's not for position. Sparrow down in P7. But yeah, it's Artsy P3, Bananotto P4. Uncle Pete will cross the line to take P5, and a little bit further back myself, P8 in this one, and it will be Verbs in a P7, sorry, P6 rather, crossing the line just behind me. J-Dog P9 choosing not to finish the race. He stops just shy of the finish line and parks it up. Meanwhile, Jester's crew ready for a pit stop. What's going on here? Jester, when he crossed the line, the timer had hit 0, but for some reason for Jester the race didn't end, so he actually ran out of fuel and has come back into the pits to get a little splash and dash. But everyone else has crossed the line. Everyone else has taken the checkered flag. So Jester's started another lap that the rest of us are not doing. And yeah, it's the victory lap for Jester. And yeah, this is a bit of an unusual ending to this one. But regardless, Jester is going to do some celebrations and just drive backwards through the entire field, it seems. Here we go. What a race though. Amazing fight for the lead as Jester starts the burnouts. But unfortunately that was the end of the replay and we don't get to see any more of that. But yeah, what a race. Jester fighting through to retake the lead after that impromptu final stop to get some fresh soft tyres on. As you can see, everyone recorded a lap down, but that's not really the case. In reality, it was, you know, Sparrow, myself, and J-Dog off the lead lap. Everyone else, the top 6, all finished on the lead lap. But yeah, it is the fastest lap of the race as well for Jester, and here it is. We'll show the onboard, but with pole position, the fastest lap, and of course the all-important race victory. That is a triple star for Jester, and you don't see those too often. I don't think I actually realized how significant it was when I scored my triple star back at Daytona to get the win, the fastest lap, and the pole position there as well. The pole position was very marginal too, so yeah, that I don't think I really realized how few and far between those triple stars would be, you know, between everyone, of course. There's only, you know, 1 to 2 per season, so anyway, yeah, of course, myself, Tita, Ash, and Jester, all with triple stars to our names now. Wonder who's going to get one next. But anyway, this has been Jester's fastest lap of the race, so now let's check out the championship standings. After the first round, Jester with the massive 35 points to kick off the season. Second place is Gran with 30 points, then it's Artsy with 28. 26 for Bananotto, 24 points for Uncle Pete, equaling his best race finish result with 5th place, by the way. P6 for Ferbs brings in 22 points. 20 points for Sparrow, 18 for myself, 16 for J-Dog, and 14 points for Ash, who unfortunately didn't make it to the end of this one. Alrighty then, well that is going to wrap up the first round of Trans Am Season 5 at Eiger Nordwand. This round was a lot of fun, I really enjoyed this track, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what the rest of the championship brings. But anyway, that is going to do it for this one, so I will say thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really do appreciate it. Please feel free to give me some feedback in the comments, it's always very helpful. But other than that, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Strikes and roaring flames echo in the wind. Zeus and Hera racing.